My name is Lasse Leponiemi. I'm the Executive Director at 100. It's my pleasure to interview Anneli Rautiainen, Senior Expert in Education at the Finnish National Agency for Education. Previously, she has been working extensively with implementing and experimenting different kind of educational innovations in Finnish primary and secondary schools. Today, we are going to discuss on her experience implementing social and emotional learning practices and solutions across the Finnish primary schools. And I would like to start with a question asking from your own personal memory of your own education. Did social and emotional learning play a role during the time you were at the school?
This is an interesting question, and in fact I have to answer that yes, social emotional learning took place in a way at the time when I went to school in Finland. We learned especially resilience and also responsibilities, and I would say also empathy and trust. And we had the subject called citizenship. So all those skills that are needed today and in the future were present at that time already.
That is very interesting. And Finland has been renewing its primary and secondary education curriculums basically in every 10 years. So how do you see that this kind of continuous development has been playing a role when implementing social and emotional learning skills and competencies to the curriculums?
Well, we live in a very complex world at the moment, and the skills that we need now and in the future in the working life and in the life overall are different, and they are changing. So 7 transversal skills that were decided 10 years ago might not be the most relevant today. We should have a curriculum that would enable us to make flexible changes and choices along the way. Once every 10 years to make a curriculum is not enough, I think. We should make sure that we provide a curriculum that best meets the needs of students of today.
Previously, when you were the head of the Innovation Experimenting Center at the Finnish National Agency for Education, you were trying out different kind of solution practices within the different primary schools here in Finland. How do you see that this kind of experimenting can support policy making and implementing new solutions to the system?
It's very important that we also have a bottom-up approach, because traditionally the administrative approach is from top down, and we don't always know at the government level what the exact problems are at the grassroots level in schools. So the teachers, the students, the parents and the principals know best. So that's why we were trying to encourage the schools to come up with a solution to a problem that they had defined. It could have been social emotional learning, it could have been something to do about pedagogy of IT and so on. So this was a great experience to see how change can be made both from top down and bottom up.
And now, during these times of big worldwide events and recovering from the pandemic, we are often hearing that we should be paying more attention to resilience, we should be understanding the social and emotional competencies that the student need in order to thrive in their life. How do you see that the Finnish education system has been reacting to these demands and needs we are seeing around us?
Well, there are great examples in different cities what they have done. For example, there's a city of Ruovesi in Finland, and they wanted to enhance the social emotional learning in their school, where first it was a teacher's approach to have a sort of a place in school where they could practice different emotions. But students were not very keen on going there. Whereas they gave the ownership of the innovation to the students. And once the students started to run the experiment, it actually became very popular within the school. And now they have hired a social emotional coach to help the teachers also to understand what it requires to have a pedagogy that supports social emotional learning.
Often when we are discussing about the Finnish education system around the world, people are mentioning that teachers have a lot of pedagogical freedom. But then something that is not that often mentioned is that the students are also very much empowered and they are an active member of the school community and the learning community within the school. How do you think that the combination of this pedagogical freedom of the teachers and then engaged students can be complementing the implementation of social emotional learning skills as a part of the curriculum?
Well, student participation is very important. Student needs to have ownership of his or her own learning. And a teacher is a facilitator who enables them to learn. So teacher is no longer the center of all knowledge or the center of all learning. It is the student. So giving more freedom to students to participate and discover and innovate is the key, really, for them to become good problem solvers, collaboration increases, and also empathy.
As a part of this ImplementED webinar, we are interviewing different policymakers around the world. And you have been involved in the policy making in the Finnish context for a longer period of time. So how do you see that through the policy making we can support schools to implement social and emotional learning skills or competencies, or some other skills and competencies we see as an important part of the future of education?
Well, first of all, we need to see where the need is. And we have to be very sensitive to the signals that we hear and see at schools. We must listen to the teachers, we must listen to the parents, we must listen to the students, and then start acting on that. Because if we are making decisions top down only at the government level and scaling it down, we might not have the right skills to teach, or we don't see the need, what is accurate at the moment. So that's why we have to have good interaction between all the players of the system and then work together, both bottom up and top down. And also ask the students, what do they need now? What kind of skills they would think that they would need. We know the working life requires a lot of collaboration, for example. And the daily life with peers and families require empathy. So we need to build trust and all these skills together for the benefit of our students, the young people who are the future makers of this world.
You have been mentioning collaboration and empathy as a very important part of social and emotional learning skills and competencies. If you would need to mention one more thing you would hope to see implemented in the Finnish education system in the near future, what would that be?
Yes, I would say innovation and curiosity, because we already know that our society is built on trust, and we have been trying to experiment how to best do problem solving. But on top of that, we need innovations, and we also need curiosity to discover the problems that we see around us and see how we can collaboratively start solving them together.
That's beautiful, and we can clearly see that the collaboration is one of the key ingredients in the Finnish education system. If you would give one advice to other policymakers around the world how to implement social and emotional learning skills and competencies within their system, what would that be?
I think we have to be one learning community together. The learning community at school and at the administration as well, so that we have good interaction, we communicate together, and we try to find solutions together to the existing problems and celebrate together after we have discovered something new.